Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are having a great weekend so far. We got ourselves a 3-game slate here on Saturday. Got my Vikings playing actually as I record this, so if you see me glare off to the left or right every now and then, that's because I'm checking in on that game. But still gotta talk some tournament or GPP plays here for this Week 15 NFL DraftKings main slate. Like I always do, I'm gonna break down a couple of my favorite game stacks, as well as some of my favorite individual plays and stacks. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And we're going to kick things off here like we always do in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. Got a few games here that have some shootout potential, but another one of those weeks where it's now projecting to be very high scoring. Talked about that a little bit in my cash game video yesterday, if you want to go check that out. And then I got the highest implied team totals here as well. And you can always use that as a reference point as I'm going through some of my favorite tournament plays. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of game stacks that I like here for this week. And starting with that game between the Chargers and the Titans, I got Herbert stacked up here with Mike Williams and Gerald Everett, running it back there with Derrick Henry. Now this game in general is projecting to be pretty popular, but it seems like Mike Williams and Gerald Everett in particular are flying under the radar. Mike Wills coming in around 10% ownership right now, Everett coming in around 5% ownership. And it's a great matchup for these guys here against this Titans defense, who ranked 28th overall in pass DVOA, while allowing the most PPR points to wide receivers this year and the third most PPR points to tight ends. But the good matchup doesn't stop there, because Derrick Henry has a really good matchup here against this Chargers defense, who ranked 25th overall in rush DVOA and have allowed the 5th most PPR points to opposing running backs this year. Now, I wasn't overly thrilled with any other full game stacks on the main slate this week, but one little mini game stack that I like is that between the Eagles and Bears. I got Fields stacked up with this tight end Cole Kmet, and then running it back there with Miles Sanders. Now this is essentially structured for the Eagles to get out to an early lead in this game, kind of like they've done all year long, and then run the ball to control the game and clock to finish out the game, while Fields and company will have to be playing catch up, with Fields rushing upside plus Cole Kmet being his best pass catching option in this game. It's not crazy to think either one of those guys hit 4x value. Now Cole Kmet, that's 16 DraftKings points, and for Fields, that's 29.6 DraftKings points if I'm doing the math right. Certainly a high number, but we all know that he's very capable of getting there and has actually shown a ceiling score well beyond that. Now as for Miles Sanders here, he's got a great matchup against this Bears defense, who ranked 29th overall in rush DVOA this year and have been even worse ever since losing their best linebacker in Roquan Smith in that trade to the Baltimore Ravens. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Alright, now diving into some of these individual plays and stacks here, we're going to kick it off with the quarterbacks. And look, I understand it is not ideal to be rostering Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, in your tournament lineups, but at this price here of $5,200, is it crazy to think that he could hit 4x value? That's 20.8 DraftKings points. He's shown that he has done that this year, even at a game where he hit 30 DraftKings points, especially coming off a bye here in a good matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, who ranked 29th overall in pass DVOA. Since week 10, the Falcons are 22nd in success rate per dropback, despite facing PJ Walker, Taylor Heineke, and Kenny Pickett during that 4-game stretch. So again, it comes down to the price here and matchup at $5,200, albeit it's not the sexiest of plays. I could foresee Dalton getting 20 DraftKings points in this matchup. Now, moving over here to the running backs, and the first guy I got there is Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints, and honestly, I think we can approach this 3 different ways. We can play him as a one-off play, just individually. We can stack him up with the New Orleans Saints defense, who I don't have on the spreadsheet, but I think they're a fine play. They're just very expensive. Or we could even stack him up with Andy Dalton, being that he's seen around a 20% target share this year. He's one of those unique running backs that you can stack up with the quarterback. And look, he's got a good matchup here as well against this defense, who ranked 31st overall in rush success rate and 30th in rush yards per game. So I like him in the running game, but I like him in the passing game too, considering the target share that he's seen, and he's actually 2nd in route participation rate this year as well for all running backs. Now look, I really wanted to highlight Tony Pollard here as well. He is more expensive than Zeke. I absolutely think he's a fine tournament play, but Zeke has been a touchdown monster here as of late. He has now scored 8 touchdowns in his last 6 games, so he's got that 2 touchdown upside that you're looking for in tournaments. Probably not going to get you 100 rushing yards, but this could be a matchup where he actually creeps around that because the Jags defense has not been very good, especially since week 10. They ranked 29th in rush success rate and 24th in rushing yards per game. And then I got Pierre Strong Jr. there of the New England Patriots. Now, Damian Harris, it sounded like he was going to play here on Sunday, might even be the lead running back, considering that Ramondre Stevenson is battling an ankle injury. Stevenson did have a limited practice on Friday, but it doesn't take much to kind of tweak that injury again. Then you're out for the rest of the game. And Damian Harris has been ruled out for Sunday as well. So while Ramondre Stevenson will likely start, I think he very well could be limited or, again, tweak that injury. That would only leave Pierre Strong Jr., who they essentially brought in to play that James White role. He had a very good game last week, 17 DraftKings points, and at $4,000 here, he's the bare minimum price at the running back position. And he's got a great matchup this week against that Raiders defense, who ranked 31st overall in total defensive DVOA. I think got a few wide receivers there for you, and I guess we're staying strong with the New Orleans Saints this week, stacking up Chris Olave with Andy Dalton, or again, I think he's fine as a one-off play too. He's seen around a 26% target share this year, 40% air yard share. He's also third in the NFL in deep targets, so the opportunity and the volume have definitely been there, and again, I do like the matchup here this week against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, another wide receiver I would play as a one-off play or even stack him up with Jalen Hurts is Devontae Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, a great matchup here against this Bears defense, who haven't been able to stop anything this year, ranking 31st overall in pass DVOA, and Devontae Smith has seen solid volume his way as well, with a 26% target share and 29% air yard share. And then I got Mike Evans there of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and look, we're all aware that the statistics and numbers have not been great for Mike Evans this year, but one thing that people probably don't know is that he leads all NFL players, not just wide receivers, all players in the NFL in fantasy points lost due to offensive penalties from his other teammates. Just last week, he had a 68-yard touchdown called back against the 49ers due to an offensive holding penalty. I think he's around 45 or 46 fantasy points that have been lost due to offensive penalties this year. Now, I guess I should finish this off by saying I do like this play because I believe some positive regression is coming Mike Evans' way. Even though I'm well aware that this Buccaneers offense as a whole has not been very good this year, Evans is still very capable of seeing double-digit targets in a game, 100-plus receiving yards, and even scoring multiple touchdowns, getting you that 25, 30-plus DraftKings point upside. And then with the last two positions here, the tight ends and defenses, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I talked about both of these tight ends in my cash plays video yesterday. I got two above here in the game stacks. I'd love to pay up for Travis Kelce this week. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get there. Defenses, same thing. Talked about both of these defenses in my cash plays video yesterday. So if you want to hear the explanation on these four players here, go check out that video. And as always, we're going to wrap up the spreadsheet here with a low-priced option or low 4K wide receiver play. And we are going back to Chris Moore of the Houston Texans. With both Nico Collins and Brandon Cooks out last week, Moore led the team in targets with 11, receptions with 10, and receiving yards with 124. That totaled out to 25.5 DraftKings points, just smashing value at his price. And well, considering that both Collins and Cooks are out again here this week, I like Chris Moore once again, especially in this matchup here against the Kansas City Chiefs, who haven't necessarily been a defensive juggernaut this year, ranking 25th overall in pass DVOA. And again, I talked about this yesterday, but this is likely a game that the Houston Texans are trailing, having to play catch up, and throw the ball more in general. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on this Week 15 main slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.